please stand for the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke. Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah.
Counsel Leahy.
Hello.
Counsel Leary.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
8 present.
Council Leary.
Mayor, can we take motion number 9.6 out of order? We have a few speakers on that motion that would like to speak.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll suspend the rules to take motion 9.6 out of order. Hearing no objection, we'll do it by general consent, but before we do that, Counsel Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer a moment of silence for the horrific events that happened last night in Manchester, England. So if we could.
Okay. All right, so under suspension of the rules, we'll take motion 9.6 out of order. A motion by Council Leary requests that the city manager instruct Skanska Perkins Eastman to create a schematic design for Lowell High School options 3 and 4 prior to the June 6th city council meeting. Is there a second? Seconded by Council Leahy. Council Leary.
I guess there's some speakers regarding it, and they would like to speak first. I think we should hear from them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ruth Potwin.
Good evening, Mayor Kennedy, members of the City Council, City Management Team. My name is Ruth Potwin, resident of 463 Douglas Road. I appreciate the opportunity to express my thoughts about the Lowell High School project, specifically options 3 and 4. Let me start by saying that I was one of 20-plus speakers prepared to address the council last week regarding the eminent domain motion pertaining to 75 Arcan Drive. I know it would be far easier on my nerves to be watching that meeting from the comfort of my own living room. But yet I showed up last Tuesday, and I'm back again this evening. Why? Well, because I live on Douglas Road. Some have said that I just don't want the high school in my front yard. If that were the case, I would be sitting on my couch right now without a concern about eminent domain votes, student accessibility, the viability of option 3. I would simply say, oh, option 1 or 2 would suit me just fine, as long as the high school doesn't end up across the street from my house. But here I am before you as a resident, a taxpayer, and an advocate of option 3. Those who stand and speak here open themselves up to all manner of public criticism. That's okay. Too bad, but okay, because this matter is important, and I'll take that risk. This past weekend, I attended the education rally in Boston, surrounded by teachers, support staff, students, families, all coming together in support of strong public education systems. One of the unifying goals was equitable access to quality education for all students. Here in Lowell, the talented and committed teachers and staff uphold that quality standard without question. However, accessibility to that quality education would be jeopardized by selecting option 4. Busing is not the magic pill. The downtown location not only provides access to classroom learning, but the full measure of education and support systems centrally located. The benefits of option 3 over 1 and 2 should be obvious by now to the council. However, the reluctance to consider eminent domain according to due process for the good of the many is truly baffling to me. Regarding the topic of loyalty, I still visit my dentist in Waltham after having moved to Lowell over 7 years ago. If my dentist moves, I will probably follow as well, unless it's to Alaska. However, there's personal loyalty and loyalty to principle. We should not confuse the two. Loyalty to principle has implications far beyond the Lowell High School project, impacting the very integrity of our city governance. This is why I am not on my couch tonight, and I encourage other residents to move outside their comfort zones, get informed, and get involved as well. Now, I realize the members of the City Council are being deluged with calls and emails and letters about the high school project, and I'm sure it's very difficult to keep up. But I want to thank Councilors Leahy and Rourke, who is not here this evening, replying to my last email, and thank you to Councilor Leary for returning my husband's call and for visiting our next door neighbor, taking a stadium view from their living room. And thank you to Councilors Samaras and Belanger for visiting Belvedere to deepen their understanding of the perspective of my neighbors. And I hope that the City Council members are learning that the issue is not just about backyards and front yards, but about a community weighing the complex pros and cons of this immense undertaking, the Lowell High School project. Thank you very much.
Armin Hebert.
Armin Hebert, 499 Wilder Street. Here to speak on this tonight. I think it's an excellent motion. We've got to get some type of program because of the way Skanska's been coming out. Major renovations, according to them, when they first started looking into this project. Now all of a sudden it's minor renovations. We've got to make sure, if that's the option that the city goes with, that we're not, well, most of us probably won't be here 20 years from now, but we don't want the people that are here 20 years from now looking for another chunk of money to rehab that school again. We want to make sure if it's done right, and that students can learn there for the next 50 years, not just for a short time period of renovation like the previous renovations that have already been done in that school already. We need to get this done right, and if that's what it is, it's going to be redone down at the old building. We got to make sure it's done right, and we don't have to come back again in 20 years and say to the city, the people that are living in this city, that we got to redo that high school again because it's no longer a learning environment. Thank you very much.
Onassis Omiyani.
Good evening. My name is Anase Omayeni. I am a student at Lowell High School, and I live at 20 Dundee Street up on Christian Hill. I just wanted to voice my support and thank Councillor Leary for his motion to have designs for options 3 and 4 by the June 6th meeting so that they can be evaluated. I also just wanted to state I think it's imperative that we continue to weigh all options regardless of loyalties, whether they be personal or principal. In my 4 years at the high school, I've been lucky to have attended a school with such a dynamic group of kids. Just being in an environment like Lowell High School has made me a more compassionate and empathetic individual. I know that moving Lowell High School from the downtown location will not alter the population of the student body, but I know that we will also be creating an unnecessary obstacles and barriers between many kids and their education. As a public school system, I believe that we should be in the business of getting rid of these barriers, not building them, especially as one that serves one of the largest school populations in Massachusetts, as well as one of the diverse ones in the nation. Additionally, many of our students have delicate or thorny family and financial situations. Being downtown empowers them not only to take advantage of our city's vibrant and historic culture, but also to be self-advocates and take advantage of the resources that exist at places like CTI and the Family Resource Center and CBA. I'd also like to thank their council for their time and consideration tonight. Additionally, if I may, I'd like to single out Mayor Kennedy for his support of Lowell High students this academic year, especially with our efforts regarding the school committee. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Stephanie Silva. Okay. Donovan Smith? All right. That's it.
That's the end of the speakers, Council Larry.
No, that's amazing. Thank you very much. The reason I put the motion on, and I know it's a hard motion to put together by June 6th, and it might not be reality to put the whole schematic in. There is so much information out there that folks don't completely understand of what's already there. We have people saying certain things, people writing certain things that are completely untrue. And that's a problem. You know, I've spoken to both people on the side of the Collie and people that are downtown, and one of the things that you hear from people, especially on Douglas Road, walking on Douglas Road, one of the most amazing things I keep hearing is, we need a new high school. So there is a common thread here and something that does unite us, and that is, we need a new high school. The problem is now is that we have folks who are using Facebook or using their position to go out and say things that are not accurate. I thought that having a schematic design would actually give us a view of what this is going to look like if we did go to Collie, and what it would look like if you were sitting there on Douglas Road. Or if we left it downtown, what is that actually going to look as we try to uplift the economic development for downtown? You know, I'm leaning towards Collie. I've said it publicly, I've said it every which way. My child is in the 4th grade. If the high school is downtown, I expect my child to go to Lowell High School downtown, even though I'm in favor of Collie. I believe in the public education in the city. It is excellent. It's not perfect. You have to work hard at it. It's very diverse. You go in my child's classroom, it is the most diverse area you're ever going to see. And it's one of the most positive environments that I've ever seen. So I think what we need to do now is tone down the nonsense, tone down the lack of information, and stop leading people in the wrong direction. Let's get the schematic designs. Let's have an objective discussion. Let's have a robust debate, but stop the nonsense. You're not convincing anybody on Facebook with your opinions either way. You're not changing anybody's opinion. In fact, all you're doing is inflaming them. As far as elected officials, including myself, let's be objective. You know, I do expect to vote for Collie, but if I'm wrong, I'm not going to sit there and make a mistake that I think was going to impact the city when I'm long dead and long gone. So I think having a schematic design at this point is something that we need so people can actually view what it's going to look like in their neighborhood or what it's going to look like downtown. And let's let the objective evidence really rule. Let's not say what the prices are because we haven't even had the final bids on it yet. I think the tone has to change dramatically because this is a community that does want a high school. That's something we got to do is focus on what unites us. Let's have that robust debate. Let's have a vote. If it's the 13th or if it's got to be pushed off a couple weeks or even a month, whatever, let's have that. And then let's get behind whatever side actually wins at that point in time. Again, having a schematic design is going to make it intelligent for everybody to really see what this is going to be. So I appreciate everybody's involvement. I appreciate the 800 and whatever emails I got on Monday with your opinions on where it belongs. And I continue, and I want them because I think we need to see that. But I think we need to change the dialogue a little bit. Just be objective. Thank you.
Council Leahy.
Thank you. Your Honor. I agree with the motion 100%. Through you to the assistant manager, I just kind of assumed we were gonna get all this. Are we getting a full report by the time we have to make a decision, right? We're gonna get a packet of information on each site?
Through you to the mayor to council. Yes, so currently, right now, the schedule is set for June 6th presentation here in the chambers, which means that the council packets go out, I believe it's Friday, June 2nd. So you'll have all that information. There'll be presentations that are put together, somewhat similar to the PDP presentation back in, I think it was February or so. We'll have Skanska and Perkins Eastman. Bob Bell, who's done a number of the presentations, will be giving the presentation that night. We'll also have a number of the consultants here as well, if there are any questions from the councilors to the consultants.
But if we get it on that Friday, we can't vote that Tuesday. I mean, we're gonna get the presentation, we're gonna need to digest it. So if the votes, the schedule changes, we're gonna need some time to go through this. So as soon as this motion passes and we get the information, we should have those reports in our hand.
So right now, once again, the packet, we're planning on Friday the 2nd to June 6th presentation, and then a potential vote, as Council Leary mentioned, on June 13th. We brought those 3 consultants in last week to try and give you as much information as early as possible. And, obviously over the last probably month, I'm trying to give you as much information as I get it and forward it off to the council and to the school building committee, the superintendent of the schools as well. And then we usually post the documents right up on the website as well.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Council Samaras, then Council.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I do too support Councilor Leary's motion. I'll tell you, when you go back to how this project started, I was actually excited by the fact that people were so excited about this project that they were choosing sites and they were talking about what site would best meet the needs of the students, and it was kind of exciting. I don't know where it turned, where it's become so polarizing that, to me, this is worse than the election of between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. It's become so polarizing that I've seen families be against each other, friends be against each other. It's not right. It's not the right reason to do these things. When Councilor Belanger and myself went through Belvedere on Saturday, we just met people who were looking for information, who were concerned. It wasn't, I don't want them in my area. It was, they wanted some answers. They wanted to understand what was going to happen. They wanted to understand, is the city looking at the, we'll say, drainage system? Sometimes some things very simple. But they all want to see the high school built, but they also want some answers. I also have made a motion that the city manager would vet out the information, correct, and have the administration present that information. Historically, the Lowell Sun has done an insert, and I've even asked at the Lowell Sun, are they going to do the insert? I have not received an answer as to that yet. But if the Lowell Sun cannot do that insert, I think it's our obligation, Mr. Assistant Manager, to do the information, print it up, and get it out to the general public. Because I think what has happened, there is so much erroneous information, or so much information, well, I don't believe this information, but I believe that information. It's gotten, we'll say, silly. But the thing is, there's real information out there, and I know once the administration vets out that information, I think we have to ensure that we get it to the public. As Councilor Leary has said, if we have to miss one voting date to ensure that everybody gets the information out there, and when we make the decision, they can see why we're making the decision. Even if our decisions differ from our peers, the whole issue is we've got to come together. We've got to come together to build this high school. It's the right thing to do, but it should not be something that would so split the community that we lose all of it, all of the effects of what it can do for a community. That's what bothers me the most. Our children deserve the best. We've got the best kids in the state. The best job I had was headmaster of Lowell High School. I say that, but I don't say that because it's a nice thing to say. But you saw the young lady make a presentation tonight. That's your typical Lowell High School student. They're caring, they're knowledgeable, they know what they want, and they're willing to speak up for it. And they've done such a good job. And we owe them what we owe them is that we should be adults, and as adults, really work to make this work, not as adults to go at each other in anger. And if you don't like my way, I don't like your way, we're not going to speak. No, there is room for compromise. There's room for integration of ideas. Compromise sometimes means I get something, you get something, but we don't get what we want. An integration of ideas, and I commend Councilor Leary and Councilor Leahy who were talking about this, that we have to have some discussions where we can integrate our ideas to form what we need and what we want to do for our children in Lowell. I don't mean to preach, but the issue is, the conditions have not been good, and we have to change those conditions. I don't have an answer on how to do it, but I do know if we can get more information out, and if the paper can't do it, Mr. Manager, Assistant Manager, we have to do it ourselves. Thank you.
Council Leary? Okay. Is there any further discussion? Council Milonazo?
No. Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to the Assistant City Manager. What is the date of the public meeting? I know we're scheduled to have a public session, I think it was on a Saturday, if I recall.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So once again, right now the schedule is the presentation of the council on the 6th. We're looking to have a forum here in the council chambers on June 8th, which is that Thursday night, a special meeting from the council, similar to, once again, what was done with the PDP. And then we would come back on Saturday, the 10th, over at the Irish Auditorium at 10 a.m. for a presentation. And then on Monday, the 12th, over at the Senior Center for another presentation. And that's with both the Coalition for a Better Acre and the CMAA, very similar to the one that was done a couple months ago, a roundtable type discussion on the 12th, that Monday.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Just a follow-up question. Do you anticipate on the 2nd that we will have all of the information to bring us right through to a vote, potentially a vote on the 13th, meaning that we'll have, as Councilor Leary's motion requesting the schematic designs of really all four options, and then the costs associated with those designs?
Yes, at this point, that we are expecting a full packet on June 2nd, and also as part of the presentation on the 6th, I believe there's somewhere around 15 council motions that have been requested, and we will address all of those council motions prior to the report done on the 6th by Perkins Eastman. So, and in terms of the cost, we will have those costs. Right now, Perkins Eastman, their cost estimators are working to put those numbers together. Typically, it's the architect who puts the cost estimations together. Because of the magnitude of the project, Skanska's own internal cost estimators are sitting with the Perkins Eastman team to make sure all of the numbers are verified.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Council Mercy.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Assistant City Manager. Mr. McGovern, is it possible you could put this in a list so we could have it? Because we could say Saturday the 10th, Cyrus Irish. We'd like to know the time. So if you could have, like, you know, the May calendar, put something together like that for this council so we could get it, put it on the website for people to see it, because Senior Center, Monday the 12th, we don't know the time. Maybe we could, it'd be nice if you had it all in a row so we could take a look at it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, definitely, Councilor. Right now, the dates are up on the website. We had to just confirm, we just recently, yesterday, confirmed the Irish Auditorium because we're going to have it televised live. We're also looking to have that televised over at the senior center as well. We will tweet out the dates and through the city's Facebook website. And also on June 8th at 10 a.m., there's a school building committee meeting, and that's going to be televised live as well.
But could you print it out and put it in our packets as well?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. We take the minutes for acceptance. We have the minutes of the Finance Subcommittee of May 16th, the City Council meeting of May 16th. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes and place them on file? By Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Milonazo. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Being 7 o'clock, we have 2 public hearings this evening. The first public hearing is for Verizon New England, request the installation of an underground conduit at Market and Hanover Street. We'll open up the meeting for those who wish to speak in favor.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, my name's Everett Bryan. I'm a right-of-way engineer with Engineering and Data Solutions representing Verizon New England at 125 High Street in Boston. Our first petition this evening is for Market Street to place approximately 30 feet of underground conduit in a southerly direction from existing Verizon manhole number 64 to jointly on pole number 12. And the second petition,
We're doing one petition at a time.
we'll do one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. This is related to the Mass Highway project on Market Street, related to the bridge, and this is necessary for Verizon to cooperate with that project.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up to those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? In opposition. Hearing none, we'll close the hearing for those who wish to speak in opposition and open up the City Council. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Leahy.
Refer to the wire inspector.
Why, I'm sorry.
I have a question first.
Yeah. The
This
motion is
is-
to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation, though, but go ahead, Councilor Leahy.
Okay. I didn't want to second that or anything yet. So this is for underground wire for where now?
This is on Market Street. We have an existing manhole there, and we need to run conduit from that manhole to a pole on the opposite side of Market Street.
Because I was gonna suggest maybe we hold this up because we're waiting. I have a motion on here to have Verizon come in, speak about double poles, wires hanging. So to get, I think, let's not do anything until they come in to address our issues in the city. And then we'll start to look at maybe granting some permits.
Councilor Leahy, did you want to make a substitute motion
Yeah, I
to
want to make a
delay,
substitute motion for that.
to delay until
Yeah.
when?
Till we meet with, my motion asks for Verizon, National Grid, and Comcast representatives.
Okay. Do we have a second to the motion? Second to the motion by, no? Second to the motion by Councilor Leahy. Discussion on the motion, Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to support the substitute motion. This is related to the bridge project on Market Street, and I just getting kind of tired of the Jersey barriers that have been there for such a long time, and I don't want, and again, I understand where Councilor Leahy's coming from. It seems almost every Tuesday night we're talking about the double poles and getting Verizon in there, and I can understand that. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a bridge that needs to be fixed. So I'm not going to support the substitute motion.
Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, no, I concur with Council Milonazo. I understand the frustration. I understand Council Leahy's. I've supported them. And at some point, you have to draw the line, but this is not one of them. We have made some progress with the double poles, and then it drops off, and they know it. It's not just this community, it's others, but I understand the intent of the motion, but on this one, this is too important.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with Councilor Elliott and Milonazo that this, although I understand clearly where Councilor Leahy's coming from, he's frustrated, and, we feel that they have been negligent here in the city of Lowell with their caretaking. of double poles. We've been talking about it for a long time, and I do want to make that abundantly clear to the speaker. However, this would be hurting no one but ourselves by holding this project up. This bridge needs to go through. It's been this, as Council Milanazzo stated, for a long time. I share Council Leahy's frustration as well. We will get to that later in the evening as he has a motion, but there's another way to go about this. But I don't believe stalling this project is the answer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Leahy.
Do we have plans to start this bridge? Does anybody know?
Mr. McGovern.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the project is going on right now as we speak.
Really? Okay. I haven't noticed much over there. What are they doing over there?
And I'll ask Mr. Mayo to come and explain the project so far to date. Thanks.
Just, could you repeat the question? There was a lot going
So
on.
what have we done over at the Market Street bridge there? I know it's falling apart, but I haven't seen
It is a city-owned bridge, but this project is being done for us by Mass DOT, and they've done a lot of preparation work. The construction itself hasn't begun yet because the utilities have to be moved out of the way. So I appreciate the support we're getting from the council, but this is one that I would definitely request be approved.
All right, that's not one of the Enel bridges?
No, this one is owned by us that the state is fixing for us. So if we can let them move forward, that would help.
All right, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, Council Leahy, that's okay with you to withdraw the motion? All right, so the motion's withdrawn, so the main motion's before us now. Any further discussion on the main motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next public hearing is also for National Grid Verizon, requesting installation of one new pole located at 174 Jewett Street. We'll open up the hearing for the proponents. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening, David Boucher, National Grid, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover. I'm a senior design technician. On Jewett Street is a new home going in, and currently we don't have a pole or any way to service them electricity. And as it's shown in the diagram that we've provided to you, we'd like to place pole 17, and that would enable us to bring our power to that pole and to the new home.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. We'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? 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 Hearing none. We'll close the hearing for those who wish to speak in opposition and open it up to the City Council. Do we have a motion to refer to the Wire Inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Milanazzo? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. That concludes the public hearings. I think that Councilor Mercia is asking for suspension of the rules in order to discuss the, did you want to do that now?
To discuss what we talked about in the paper?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If I'd like to...
So, before you start, if there's no objection, we'll suspend the rules in order to discuss the move of Genesis from out to Drake. Hearing no discussion, by general consent, we'll suspend the rules. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for letting me talk about an article that appeared in the Lowell Sun. As a matter of fact, it was today. I'm not here to speak and criticize anybody. I'm not blaming anybody, as one councilor suggested that I'm going to be blaming the chairman of the Economic Development. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just letting you know that I'm very disappointed in what is happening. Wait a minute, I get the wrong paper, but I'm just concerned about why this is going to be moving into Drake. I'm disappointed because I feel that the city lost a viable business. I think the people of Lowell lost a great opportunity that went to Drake. A $26 million building, despite being a signature building, we lost an economic development opportunity to give between 200 and 220 people jobs. I thought that was the purpose of the Hamilton Canal. I thought it was about bringing in jobs. I thought that we were against having more housing because it's one of the last spots where we could have commercial entities where we could be bringing in jobs. And then annual tax revenue, I think that, to me, that qualifies as a signature opportunity. It may not be a signature building, but it was a signature opportunity to me. I don't say that we should build anything just to get tax money, but $377,000 annually is nothing to sneeze about. I don't think it's chump change. I didn't realize we were looking for a company to build the Taj Mahal there. I thought we were looking for tax revenue, companies that were creating jobs, companies that could partner with the university. I didn't know what you were looking for. I don't know. I'm asking this, are we holding out to make more room for a school that I don't know if it will fit there, but we'll see. I'd like a detailed report through you, Mr. Assistant Manager. I want to know why this company moved out and walked over to Drake. And I'm disappointed with that. I thought this was what it was all about. I didn't know we had price tags on buildings, that they should be icons in the city. I would love that to happen, but I'd rather have $377,000 with jobs than to have nothing at all. And I'm very, very disappointed, and I wanted to voice my frustration. I'm not here to blame anybody. I'm not. I want a report as to what are we looking for, because I'm under the impression that that's what we were looking for. And if I'm wrong, then everybody and my colleagues know it. I don't know it. And I want to get on the same page with them because I'm disappointed.
Councilor Mercier, did you want to make a report asking for a report and recommendation from the
Yes, please. I'd like
manager?
to know
Do we have a
what
second to that
happened.
motion by Councilor Belanger? Any discussion on the motion, Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I most certainly will second this. I think it's a great topic that Councilor Mercia brings up. It is frustrating. We would, something obviously went south. We were told for a rather long period of time that everything was on track. It seemed to be fading. It was going sort of off the tracks. It came back on, and then now it's completely off. But what's more frustrating is that the council finds out through breaking news on the Lowell Sun. With all due respect, I appreciate their reporting, but this was an important project, and I know the administration worked very hard for months on end to make this come to fruition, and it did not. But I would like notification as being a councilor prior, without reading it as a headline. So that's my opinion. So I look forward to the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would the maker of the motion object if we also included Watermark in that report? Because again, it's just street talk, and I apologize for street talk, but at the end of the day, I'd like to get an update on Watermark as well.
Okay, if there's no objection from anybody, we'll include Watermark in that motion. Are you all set, Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. I guess I support the request for this information. When Genesis was introduced, it was introduced as a premier project that included commercial space, also a training program tied in with the University of Lowell, and then some type of nursing facilities along with rehabilitation. And that was a premier program. Then it seemed to go towards no commercial space, no program with the University of Lowell, and really just being a nursing home. Then it came back again as possible commercial space and some changes. I'd like to get a timeline of what went on, in other words, what was offered and what was the final product. And did we lose the final product because of not following through, or did we lose the product because it wasn't represented as it originally was intended to be? There's a lot to this. It's not we're not looking for. There's not a simple answer to this. So it's not looking at a blame, but a lot of change took place. It went from a premier project to a project that was not seen as what was originally explained, and a project that we all voted on to accept. So I'm looking for clarification as to what actually took place. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I've learned more from Council Samaras than the City Council have heard on this. perhaps in weeks, if not months. The last that the city manager spoke, that they were this close to a deal. So I think we were all taken aback by the fact that there was a front page story that this deal was off and they were going to Drake it and not Lowell. I understand that we have our desires to make it an innovation district, and I agree, I supported it, but sometimes we have to bend the rules, so we have to be flexible, and that's what this council adopted. We adopted a master plan to go out and get a master developer to include flexibility so we wouldn't be in a predicament that we were with Trinity Financial. So, I mean, this was rolled out months ago, and then, lo and behold, it just, it completely fell apart. So, I support the report, but I would like to know from you, Mr. Assistant City Manager, Healy, somebody, this took place and somebody made a decision. It's not the blame game, but who made the decision not to proceed and then allow, you know, which opened the door for Drake it to proceed, and when was that? Was it, I mean, I can cite what's in the newspaper, but I'd rather hear it from the administration.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of Genesis, I can't speak to Genesis as when they had started discussions with the town of Drake. I know that this has been about a 2-year process with Genesis, and there's been a lot of back and forth requests that we made in their design, and when the designs come back, they're really not quite what we're looking for. I was actually confronted by a Lowell Sun reporter yesterday coming out of a meeting at 10 o'clock, but within the report, as Council Samaras also requested, kind of the timeline of what's happened over the last couple of years in terms of negotiations.
So, Mr. McGovern, essentially, we didn't like the design of the building, so we lose that development project of $35 million. I mean, if there's more to that, then I think the council should have been kept abreast of this. And that doesn't mean that we negotiate this in public, but I think this was a signature project. We knew it was. You mentioned it's been 2 years plus, that this was we need something to jumpstart. And part of these developments was we were the recipient of a $4.5 million MassWorks grant, which that district will not jumpstart unless we had a master developer and we were able to bring utilities over. So I'm flabbergasted that this has taken place, knowing so much is riding on this project in terms of getting utilities and using that EDA grant or that MassWorks grant to get this project going. So you can tell there's frustration because it just doesn't make a lot of practical sense to me that we're losing a business that wanted to locate there over 2 years and we couldn't come to some agreement. And if we had to bend, then that was the case. And if the project changed, there's still 200 jobs, there's still $377,000 of taxable property in a $35 million project. So they're gone, and there's nothing else in the pipeline, which is not a good thing for this particular district. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Leary.
Just a quick, I guess, different train of thought. I think what Council Leary just said, I need a clarification on the MassWorks grant. We're still getting the utilities. That hasn't gone. I thought we had a report a little while ago. Is that true? Because the master developer at this point is not in place. We're still getting the grant to build the utilities. I think we just got something a couple of weeks ago.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, the MassWorks grant is still intact, and that's proceeding.
I think the key is at this point, and obviously losing this is not a good thing. But we do have some mixed messages that we needed at the council to clarify. I think Councilor Mercier's report is a good jumping start to re-electrify what we really want. You know, I hear a lot of language about we want to be like the next Assembly Square. We want to be this, we want to be that. So let's re-engage this with this motion and start over, because this is a massive opportunity. The challenge, and then we're talking about this again a couple times tonight, the challenge with that area is nobody's going to build anything when you don't have sewer and water, and that's, what, 1/3 to half of the project anyway. The infrastructure to get there, why would you build something if it's a challenge to get there? And hopefully the Lord Overpass is a conduit to making that attractive. We got to realize that we're going to be competing with Chelmsford because we took Kronos away from them for their Cross Point Tower area. So we need to re-engage that. I think we need to sit down in terms of looking at, do we want to go out to an RFP to another master developer at this point? Is that something we want to do? What do we want to do, and let's make that decision. I think as soon as we get this report in place, then we need to nail that down, because we are sending a lot of different messages out there. And I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think everybody wants this to happen. Everybody's concerned. It's been around for a long time. Unfortunately, if you're in the business world, you realize that it's going to take a lot longer to complete it fully. One, because of the infrastructure. It isn't going to come till that's done. We're not starting that till what, next year, I think, in March or April. The Lord Overpass starts around the same time. It's going to be a challenging little area to get around in next year in 2018. We got to work that out. Once that's done, the courthouse will be near done. You're going to start to see people wanting to be a part of it. And I agree, talking about things like Watermark and what have you, once you have the infrastructure, maybe Watermark at that point says, you know what, you guys are serious about what you're talking about. So I think, again, once we get this motion, which I think is an excellent motion, then we can start off again in terms of what we really want, and then go get it, because we have that opportunity, and it's something that's going to happen if we're willing to go through the due diligence of it and willing to wait a little extra amount of time. That will have the tax dollars that we're looking to spend for the police station, the high school, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
If there's no objection from the maker of the motion, I would like to just offer a friendly amendment or get some additional information on that MassWorks grant. Can you refresh our memory when we got it? Because I can recall it was well over, it's got to be close to 2 years when we received it, because I remember the governor being here, and why it has taken so long for that work to progress. That would be very helpful to know, because that's the linchpin. There's no utilities. Access is an issue, but we do have the Lord Overpass being realigned. But if there's no utilities, companies are not going to look at coming to relocate. It's too much of an expense, which was the significance of getting that grant. So can we please get an update on the status of that, and why, in my opinion, it's taken so long to get that project bid and that construction underway? So
There's no objection. We'll include that in the report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Report. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Next, moving on to motion responses from the city manager. We have responses A through E this evening. The first one is the Hazardous Waste Day. Any discussion on Hazardous Waste Day? Councilor Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We got a schedule of the Household Hazardous Waste Day and all the items that are free to dispose of, like waste motor oil, propane tanks, fluorescent light bulbs, and then there's the other side where there's a fee, and it's cash only, like chemicals and latex acrylic paint and stuff like that. So I want to know, this should be on the website as well, because our first one was May 6th, and the next one is June 17th from 8 to noon times at the DPW on Middlesex Street. So this is very important to people that want to dispose of things in the professional right way to do it. So if we could get this online, and I just wanted to say that because this is very important. People cleaning out now their garages and stuff, that you don't throw it in the trash, that there's a way for you to get it. And there's a lot of fire extinguishers free that you could dispose of. So online, that'd be nice on our website to have everybody being informed as we are with the notice that we got. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on item A? If not, we'll move on to item B, the Espinoza dedication. Any discussion on item B? Councilor Mercy.
Thank you very much. They're repairing the handball court wall, and there will be a dedication sometime in June. I think that's wonderful for the people in the acre that love to do the handball, and the court was there, but it was falling apart, and they refurbished it, and there'll be a formal dedication, and thank you to dedicate it to the memory of the young man that was instrumental in helping many youngsters around that neighborhood to learn the art of handball. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item B? If not, we'll move on to item C, which is the TIF agreement expiration and effect on taxes. Any discussion on item C? Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to either the Assistant City Manager or the CFO. I certainly appreciate this information. I don't know if Councilor Elliott will want it referred to the Finance Subcommittee, but I was just wondering if you could just take a couple minutes and just walk through for the viewing audience what the actual report states. I know we're talking $42 million when the TIF projects go to fully taxable property. So I just, if you could, through the mayor, just give us a brief presentation. Thank you.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. This motion request came through the Finance Subcommittee and discussion of the high school and the impact that it had on residential and commercial taxes. The city has negotiated a number of tax increment financing agreements with private developments to try to attract them to locate in the city. These agreements are allowable under Massachusetts state law and allow for companies to invest, make investments, improve the property, and to receive a tax break on the incremental value from their investments. So they agreed to provide a certain investment. They agree to provide a certain number of jobs in the community. Those are monitored by the Economic Development Office of DPD, as well as by the state. They're annually certified. However, the amount that's sort of exempted, the taxes, incrementally comes off and comes on the tax rolls. So by virtue of the agreement, each year that passes, there's additional new value that's created. And to put it very plainly, new value that comes from commercial properties helps ease the impact on residential taxes. So in this report, the request had to do with new value coming on as the debt service for the high school will be absorbed by the operating budget, and by the time we get to fiscal year 2020, there'll be about $258,000 in new tax revenue from these TIF agreements, expiring, which will in effect ease the burden on the residential taxpayers. So that's a brief summary. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Connor, for that report. We knew that this was going to be somewhat good news as we move forward to be able to expend the tax base, which is probably why it's so frustrating with the Hamilton Canal District, but I know we'll have that discussion, because this, as you clearly write, new growth is imperative to gateway cities like Lowell. We need it. That's why these incentives are available. Just 6 TIF agreements, we're looking at $276 million in private investment that'll be generated towards the tax base. That's why it's so important for us to continue to grow the tax base. It does help offset the cost of running the city. So I do think this is important. I think we should forward this to the Finance Subcommittee and call another meeting. We've been meeting almost on a weekly basis to talk about the effects of the high school as well as where we are financially in the city. So I'll second Councilor Milanazzo's motion to send this forward to have further discussion on the significance and the new growth that will be coming on in the upcoming years.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Milanazzo to refer item C to the Finance Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is, any further discussion on item C? If not, we'll move on to item D, the crosswalk on Fletcher Street. Any discussion on item D? Councilor Samaras.
Mr. Assistant City Manager, thank you for the report. But the report talks about how the crosswalk wasn't installed after they put the sidewalks in on Fletcher Street. But it talks about that it will be added through our next paving contract. Can you explain what that means at this point, time-wise?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're hoping in the next couple of weeks that we'll have in one of our additional contracts for whatever sidewalk we're doing or street work we're doing, we'll have the company go up and thermoplast the crosswalks up there. That's the heat-sealed paint that's last for a very long time. And so within the next couple of weeks, they'll be up there putting the additional crosswalks in there.
All right, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. I just wasn't sure whether you're waiting for it to be repaved again at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item D? If not, we'll move on to informational. Item E is National Public Works Week. As I'm sure everybody knows, May 21st to the 27th has been designated National Public Works Week by the American Public Works Association. Since 1960, the APWA has sponsored National Public Works Week across North America, and more than 29,000 members of the United States and Canada use this week to energize and educate the public on the importance of public works on their daily lives, planning, building, managing, and operating at the heart of their local communities to improve everyday quality of life. Did Mr. Belgado or Mr. DeLeo, did you want to say something on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you had mentioned, this is a nationwide event that the APWA has every year. They've been sending out notes to communities to have events like Touch a Truck and just reminding everybody about how you can't go through your daily life without being involved with Public Works, even though you may not know it. If you had to drive here today, you were involved with Public Works. If you walked on the sidewalk, you were involved with Public Works. If you had a drink of water, if you took a shower, everybody's life is involved with Public Works at some point. And if we're doing our job right, you never notice. So once a year, we like to say, notice us. So the guys over at DPW do a fabulous job, and just wanted, I say thank you to them very often, and I just wanted to bring this out to all of you.
Yeah, I think they deserve
Thank you. Any further discussion on National Public Works Week? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the motion responses from the city manager, placed them on file by Council Milonazo, second by Council Mercy. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication from the city manager to appoint Philip L. Shea to the Lowell Civic Stadium Commission. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
We have a motion approved by Council Mercy, second by Council Leary. Discussion, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke. Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Next is a request for out-of-state travel for one person in the Lowell Police Department and one person in the Division of Planning and Development. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Milonazo, second by Council Samaras. Discussion, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke. Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 8 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to authorizing the city manager to execute a limited access agreement at 239.1 Jackson Street, which is also known as Parcel 9. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, which is authorizing the city manager to execute an access between the city of Lowell and Barber Pool relative to 239.1 Jackson Street, also known as Parcel 9. Do we have a motion approved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Leahy? Discussion, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke. Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Next, we have a communication from the city manager requesting approval for a constable bond for Samuel Sock and David Small. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion approved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Oh, I'm sorry, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke. Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Next, under reports, subcommittee reports, we have the Economic Development Subcommittee meeting of May 23rd, 2017. For report, Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Present at the meeting were myself, Councilor Leary, Councilor Mercia, Councilor Belanger, and Councilor Leahy. We had a good presentation by developer Dave Daly, and he talked about the new building he would like to build at the corner of East Merrimack and Davidson Street. You're talking about replacing the old Dillon building that many would remember, and it just recently was part of MCC. And he's talking about building a glass and steel building with a restaurant. He's talking about having a building with, commercial space. And when he talks about what his plans are, it's for mixed use. And he talked about emulating suburbs of Boston, which have the mixed-use type of commercial and housing involved. The building will be approximately 12 floors, glass and steel, 66 units, 55 two-bedroom units, and 11 one-bedroom unit, with a range of $400,000 to $900,000 a year. This building will have a common area, a gym, and a pool. But he also has worked with the Greenway and the people, and he's giving some of the land, or making land available to continue the Greenway Trail by the building. So this is an exciting move. When talking about his work with the city, he praised the city administration because he spoke, some of the hardest problems that you have as a developer is the permitting process. It's usually the biggest roadblock. And he was very thankful for the assistance he received in getting all his permits in a very reasonable time. He actually said he's got projects in many other parts of the state, and it's not that easy as it was in Lowell. But we asked him, what would he need? What would he look at that would help him with that building project? He talked about several areas of concern. One is more parking. He really feels that developers like him, the biggest problem that Lowell has is parking at this point. I think we know that, but he's looking to see what can happen to develop more parking. He also talked about traffic patterns and working with the city on traffic patterns that might help. He also spoke of what the downtown would need, and he'd like to help the downtown working in, is to get an anchor store, like a Trader Joe's. These are the type of stores that really would benefit people living in the downtown. So basically, it was a great project to look at. We asked him when he plans to start. He said he'd start tomorrow if he could, but right now he's looking at all his options and what further needs to be done to begin this building. But this is the type of anchor project that really will mean a lot to the city of Lowell. We wish him well. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any further discussion on the subcommittee report?
Just really quick.
Council Leary.
I think one of the things, too, in addition to what the project, we also talked about what an individual would look for in the city. And I think Council Samaras touched upon it, but also looking at something that's really hard to do and almost impossible to do and in a short time frame is the tax code for the businesses. It's something that isn't going to happen overnight. It's almost, looking at something that would be decades long. But I think that's something we need to start taking a look at and maybe even look at it as a task force to see how one would actually implement that. I don't know if it's actually achievable in the long run. It isn't achievable in the short run, but in the long run, it's something that we got to take a look at. That's something I think he mentioned. It's something that obviously we all heard from many people before, but maybe looking at having a separate task force come in to say, here's some options for us, just as a follow-up. The other thing too is really cool about the building, and I think you hit upon it, was really ending that bikeway, which everybody in this council has worked really hard on. That's something, if this does actually come to fruition, that's going to be really awesome for the city in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Not, we have a motion by Council Leary, seconded by Council Samaras to accept the report as a report of progress. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. If there's no objection, the next two petitions could be bundled together. Hearing no objection. The first petition is request the installation of a handicap parking sign at 68 Elm Street. And the second one is requesting the installation of a handicap parking sign at 9597 4th Street. The chair would entertain a motion referred to the traffic engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is council motions. The first motion of the evening is by Councilor Mercia, requesting the city manager provide a report regarding poll results from downtown business survey concerning Lowell High School. We have a registered speaker for this. Did you want to speak first, Councilor Mercia, or other?
No, I'll let them speak. Thank you.
Molly Sheehy.
Good evening, Mayor Kennedy, members of the City Council, and the manager's team. I appreciate the opportunity. First of all, I'm Molly Sheehy, and I live at 525 High Street Extension. I appreciate this opportunity. I wanted to read a letter to you that I sent to the Lowell Sun on April 10th regarding the new Lowell High School and why I believe it should be downtown option 3. But before I get into that, I want to take up a couple of other things. First of all, I am invested in this high school situation. I have a grandson, Jack, who will enter the high school in September, and a granddaughter, Kate, who will enter the following September. Despite media reports to the contrary, citizens are involved in a very healthy debate regarding a very important issue, the location of the new Lowell High School, downtown or Collie. Are we passionate? Yes, we are. Are we passionate? Yes, we are. The group that I belong to, I'm honored to belong to it. It's overseen by 3 administrators, hardworking, strong members of our group, Peter Martin, Bob Montgomery, and Maria Sheehy. I've never heard any in our group say, if it doesn't go where I want it to go, I'm moving. I've never heard anybody say, if it doesn't go where I want it to go, my kids won't go to Lowell High School. As a group, we appreciate the magnitude of this decision and the burden on this city council, and especially appreciate those councilors who are waiting for all of the information before they make the decision. And now for the letter to the Sun that never saw the light of day. Option 3 is the best option. My opinion is informed by experience as a Lowell public school teacher, as well as tenure as Middlesex Community College's Lowell campus manager and chair of the Middlesex Community College Lowell Public Schools Partnership. Option 3 downtown is the best option for all of our high school students. This central location in the heart of the Lowell National Historical Park would provide a new state-of-the-art high school, as well as serve to continue the connection to the many important services currently available to the students. Locating the high school downtown provides a proximity to the Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc., UTEC, the Career Center, Lowell Community Health Center, the Pollard Library, MCC, UML, internships, opportunities for community service, and after-school jobs. If you don't mind, I'll take it. I can speak to the importance of the Middlesex Community College Lowell High School Partnership because I was a participant in its startup in 1987. Over the ensuing years, a very, very capable grants department at Middlesex Community College secured millions of dollars to support the partnership. That is a fact. Thousands of Lowell High School students have participated in Talent Search, Gear Up, Latino Connections, Student Connections, Dual Enrollment, and many other MCC Lowell High School programs. Many of these activities are hosted at the high school, but not all of them. Upward Bound, Accuplacer testing, information sessions, speaker programs, the music program, ROTC participation in graduations and programs honoring veterans, and many other programs bring Lowell High School students to the college. Proximity is key to productive and thriving partnerships that serve to enhance and enrich a student's high school experience. In short, it is my opinion that taking the high school to the outskirts of the city takes away the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I remember one of my colleagues asking to pull the downtown businesses. I don't know what this had to do with the neighborhood, but I appreciate Molly and I respect her, and I appreciate that she could take this survey as well. But one of my colleagues, I think it was Corey Belanger, who wanted a poll of the downtown business and to survey them as to their concerns regarding Lowell High School. Are the students making some sort of an economic impact in helping your business? Are the students hindering your business? Whatever comments they had to say, that's what I was thinking that the counselor had in mind. I thought that the survey would be very instrumental in making us aware as to how this could add in as a factor for or against where the high school is built. Yet I don't recall seeing any survey. So if we could maybe get a survey anonymously from the downtown businesses with their thoughts. It is my understanding that the chamber has access to mostly all the downtown businesses and could email them and get what we're asking for in a rather quick time. I don't care to know who the businesses are, only if they want to reveal who they are. I feel anonymously will let them be more open and to express their thoughts. After all, the downtown businesses are the abutters and their neighbors to Lowell High School, and they have a right to their opinion, and I'd like to hear from them. I spoke to the chamber director, Danielle McFadden, and she said she would be happy to provide a survey through Survey Monkey. They call it Survey Monkey. It's a program that allows her to ask questions to the businesses downtown, and there you have it. That's just what I'm asking for through this motion.
Thank you,
And
Councilor.
anybody was free to offer their opinion, so that's okay. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I thank Councilor Mercia for revisiting this motion that I co-sponsored along with my bookend colleague, Councilor Samaras. But first, I would like to thank the Speaker, Molly Sheehy, for her insight, and her speaking is very, very valuable. Her well over 30 to 40 years in education in the city, she has forgotten more than most people ever know when it comes to education. I appreciate and admire her comments very, very much. Thank you, Molly. But as to the economic, I mean, you know, Council, I was a downtown businessman for a number of years, as most of us know. And Councilor Samaras and I, again, did co-sponsor a motion, and again, I think it's great that Councilor Mercia revisits it. But the general census was that, look at, according to the educational plan, okay, 75% of our kids that attend Lowell High come from low-income families. Now, no one is knocking our high school kids, okay? They really do not have a whole heck of a lot of disposable income. That is just a fact. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't help the local economy. It is there, okay? As we surveyed businesses near the high school, I mean, there are some, in particular, coffee shop, a Subway does fairly decent, but the other ones, as you get to a more higher priced items, don't really fare all that well. They don't unwelcome it, as to we've seen to this point, but there's really, the gist of it is nobody's really getting rich down there as it is. So, but they do appreciate the vitality, but what they ask is, okay, if the high school goes, what's going to replace it? So there is a slight boost at best for the majority, in my opinion. So I would like it surveyed to get to the facts. As you can see, Councilor Mercia has expressed interest getting to the bottom of this as well. But all in all, it really, it's a plus, but it's a minimal plus, in all honesty, from being there and from knowing the business owners and from surveying them over a number of years. So, but nonetheless, it certainly does not hurt. But I would like to get the report for this council to educate the entire council and the residents of Lowell as to how this does affect the local economy downtown. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council Samaras.
Thank you. And I'm glad Councilor Mercia brought this up. In walking downtown, we found several types of people talking. There were some people, when we asked the question, what do you feel about the high school? They really had some very strong answers why they felt it should be downtown and what it offered. Then we also met some people who felt very strongly why it shouldn't be downtown, and they had some answers. But we found the majority people, I found many of them former classmates, not classmates, but students of mine, who had opened up their business, family business. And the one thing these people had in common, they weren't like, we'll say, a Trader Joe's. What will make a Trader Joe's come to Lowell? It will be if their research companies will define the type of traffic that's in Lowell, the income in Lowell, that would make it worth it. These people do not have that. So what I found is that they weren't really sure whether the high school was an advantage or a disadvantage. But the thing is, we'd like the questionnaires to go out. Perhaps, Mr. Coughlin, we talked about, could you give us an idea of where we are with that?
Kevin, did you want to?
Through you, Mr. Yes, I'm sorry. Just quickly, and then Mr. Coughlin. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. The survey actually went out electronically to downtown business owners on Monday.
Okay.
So if Mr. Coughlin has anything else to add.
Fine, thank you.
Do you mean yesterday? Yesterday?
Yes, Councilor.
Oh, well, that's good. So by the 2nd, we should have some information then.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councilor, and hopefully, I'm not sure how long it takes to put together. It's electronic, so it shouldn't be that long. If we can put it together and get it to you before the 2nd, definitely.
Did it go out, like, is it coming back anonymously?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? Council Leary.
Council Samaras and I also had a motion regarding what would we do if we left downtown. So I don't know when that's going to be in the works of getting actually addressed, or it's kind of cool that we're going to get this one in, but this one was made actually probably a month, 2 months prior to this motion. So I think it's important economically, and we all walk around downtown and talk to people, and there's a variety of different opinions. So getting this survey is very important. But it's also equally important is what are the potential opportunities that could or could not happen in that location? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Councilor Mercer. Request that the city manager provide a full detailed report regarding the renovation work to Lowell High School in 1997, including a spending breakdown of the $40 million on which buildings and what was repaired. Second by Councilor Leary, Councilor Mercia.
And if we don't have enough information, I just added a little bit more. So on June 2nd, maybe we could have that to go over everything that we need to know. I hate to burden you, but I just like to know a little bit more. And I know it's a little bit detailed, but there's reasons why we need to know these things. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Councilor Leahy. Request that the city manager have Verizon, National Grid, Comcast representatives meet with the city council in the council chamber to discuss double poles, hanging wires, and all-around appearance of their equipment in the city. Second by Councilor Belanger. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Motion pretty much speaks for itself, but, you know, we've had the problem with double poles for years and years. I drive through a lot of communities, and I can tell you, you don't see the poles in other communities that you do here. And then lately, over the last year, it seems like it's okay to just leave wires hanging from the poles, and they're phone wires or they're Comcast wires. So I think that we need to have them come in and give us an explanation on why they feel it's okay to hang their wires down, leave the double poles. The latest thing up on Gorham Street is now they cut the top of the pole and the bottom of the pole, and they leave a quarter of the pole hanging there. So, you know, they could put a lot of people to work and get people working, get these eyesores out of communities, and do a lot of good versus just stalling and stalling. So that's the gist of the motion.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to commend Council Leahy. He's been talking about this issue for quite some time now, and I commend him. And it's not a small issue, it really isn't. It's a quality of life issue, it's an aesthetic issue, and here we have a big, giant corporation that basically does not care. But you know what, we're going to show them that we care. But, you know, holding progress on bridges is certainly not the answer. Okay, so we need to come up with a solution, how we can effectively combat this issue. They're frequently in front of this council, but how do we do that without hurting residents of the city and projects and infrastructure in the city at the same time? That's the fine line. So I want to work with Councilor Leahy on this motion any way I can. I appreciate him doing this repeatedly. I think it's a good thing, and there's got to be a way. So we'll look for a solution through the manager and his administration. They're constantly coming in asking for favors, but again, it needs to be done in a way where we don't hurt the residents of Lowell in infrastructure projects, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to ask through you to the city solicitor, what leverage do we have to hold the company, the National Grid, feet to their fire? I mean, they come in, it's like a revolving door. We have them in, they make commitments, they take down a certain number of poles. They know we don't want to hold up development. We certainly don't want to hold up reconstruction of a bridge. But is there something that we can do, I mean, moving forward? I mean, we don't want to, if we have to, at some point, we have to start holding, you know, light poles in abeyance, and it's really not the fault of whether it's a home or a business. Any suggestions on?
Who are you addressing, Council?
I said through you, Mr. Mayor,
to
the
city
city solicitor.
Okay.
Right, so there is the practical problem that you're referencing in terms of harming innocent third parties by holding things up. Added to that is really the statutory leverage that utilities often enjoy with respect to being able to move forward with their projects, whether it be adding equipment to the tops of light poles and other infrastructure improvements. But we certainly can take a further look at any sort of options that are available, and also take a look at what other communities might be doing that are facing some of the similar problems that Lowell's facing.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that was going to be a suggestion. Is there such thing that other communities are doing, whether it's a memorandum of an understanding where there could be, there could be damages or repercussions for, poles being left up after a certain amount of time? I'm sure they will probably not want to sign something like that, but.
Right, we can put a question out on the listserv for the City Solicitors Association, and probably Lisa DeMeo through the engineers, through a similar organization, can see if any of the communities are, A, dealing with the problem, and if they're coming up with a different way to do it. Obviously, there has in the past been attempts at legislating these problems, and,
right.
And those, I don't think, have been ultimately successful either.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Leahy, requests the city manager provide a report from the traffic engineer regarding the intersection of Dutton Street and Market Street concerning pedestrian crossing. Second by Council Leahy.
Thank you. This situation comes up time after time, so if we can get a report, it's really not an easy intersection to cross. There's businesses there as well as at Central and Market, Merrimack and Central, but particularly that one, people feel like that's the most dangerous maybe. So if we get a report on how we're addressing how people cross the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Leahy. Request that the city manager explore the possibility of locating a new high school in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. Second by Council Leary. Council Leahy. We have registered speakers. You want the speakers to go first? Okay.
Armin Hebert.
Armin Hebert, 499 Wilder Street. I think this is a great motion really here. This should have been really taken into consideration a year and a half ago. I don't know why anybody hasn't thought of it or mentioned it at one of these building meetings and stuff like that. The building committee should have really taken a hard look at the Hamilton Canal District, because as you see, we're having a hard time selling the property for commercial use, which is what the city's goal was, to use that area for commercial use, and we're having a real hard time. And right now, the city is split right in half right now. People wanting to keep it downtown, people wanting a new school at Colley Stadium. And that would have kind of gave us the best of both worlds, but not all the green space that Colley Stadium will provide the children that go to that school. This was something that where the building committee failed us again. Okay, this was never taken into consideration. It was never put on the first 21, and I understand why it wasn't, because they were looking for commercial tax revenue, but it might have been able, if someone had taken a look back then at this spot, it might have been a good choice for everybody in the city. And it's Tuesday night, so I can say this, right, Mr. McGovern? Thank you.
Helen Littlefield.
Good evening. My name is Helen Littlefield. I live at 249 Douglas Road. I am a strong advocate of Lowell High staying downtown. A central location is an equitable location and has proven to be such for the school's 180-plus year history. A downtown location provides the most access for the most students and their families, something I witnessed firsthand in my 31 years as a teacher there, and that I experienced when I was a student there. Its downtown location allows students to access the many programs described by Mrs. Sheehy and over 20 other agencies that are also within walking distance of Lowell High School. Interestingly, these sentiments were echoed by some Lowell High School students in an article online today in the Sun. Yes, they want the facilities to be improved, but those interviewed for the article, written by a Lowell High School student interning at the Sun, want the high school to stay downtown. Because I believe that a central location is paramount, I appreciate Councilor Leahy's motion to investigate the Hamilton Canal District as another possible downtown site for the high school. While I personally favor option 3 downtown, the Hamilton Canal District might be an acceptable compromise site, avoiding some of the issues with the other 2 sites now under consideration. The idea should be discussed and explored, as long as doing so does not jeopardize funding for the high school project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Noel Cregan.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for having me speak tonight. My name is Noel Cregan. I live at 21 O'Hare Way. Many of my neighbors are here tonight. I wanted to reference, and maybe this is a little bit out of turn because it's not specifically related to Hamilton Canal. My comments are really similar to what Councilor Samaras had referenced earlier and Councilor Leary as well, regarding the creation of division within our community. I share those concerns along with, I think, almost everyone in this room and beyond these walls into this city. When I first got involved in this process and initially spoke on it regarding the high school, I talk from the perspective of a concerned parent. I'm still that concerned parent. I've become much more active, much more vocal. But the reason that I got involved and the reason that I became more vocal was because I was concerned with the lack of transparency and misinformation that was being put out into the community. And my efforts and those efforts with some of my friends has been really about getting that information out and information that is correct and accurate. I observed a situation today that gave me grave concern. And it came from one of our leaders here in this room. I'm speaking specifically about some comments from Mayor Kennedy on City Life today. You mentioned during your time on City Life today that you thought Facebook was an unfortunate place where a lot of misinformation has been has been persisted and has basically from both sides of this discussion that we're in. And I couldn't agree more. But I think we also have to look at the source of that misinformation, and on every side of this discussion, we all need to take personal accountability for what we're putting out there, how we're treating everyone, and the information that we're sharing. I was really concerned that I heard you say things like the cost of downtown will be half the cost of Cawley, when we full well know that the budgets are preliminary at this point, and that nothing shows a delta even close to that. I was also concerned when I heard a downtown renovation will take 3 years, when we've clearly seen at this point that all the options show downtown at a 4.5 year time period. The only option that shows a 3-year option is Cawley. I heard a reference to a 5-story building being a hazard at Cawley, when we understand as well that the Downtown Freshman Academy new building will also be 5 stories. Additionally, the Lord building will be raised was something that was said many times during your time on City Life this morning. There's no downtown option that has that building being raised. It is all renovation, options 1, 2, and 3. So when you referred that teacher who was rightly informed that that building will be renovated, that it will be in fact raised, that was inaccurate, and I have concerns about that. Additionally, there was a comment today that was made that if Cawley site is selected, that the Milan Pizza could be taken by eminent domain. This brings up another concern that happened many months ago with regard to something similar happening to Holy Ghost, and I believe is an unfair fear tactic. I think Facebook is a double-edged sword, and like I said, if we don't have people giving appropriate information and disseminating appropriate information, we're never going to be in a position to make an informed decision. And that's of grave concern, and it should be to our entire city. Sorry, I just want to make sure I've hit all my points. I think really the main thing is there are good people on both sides of this discussion. We all have to live in the same neighborhood. We all have to at some point come to a decision on what's going to happen, and we know that a new high school for our city is the best decision. We need it. All our students need it. And I just say, can we please all take personal accountability to ensure that in any forum that we're speaking about this project, that we take the personal accountability to be 100% accurate to the best of our ability and not further our agenda, just the information, so we can be transparent. Thank you for your time.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. So regarding this motion, it's not my motion, and thank you to the speakers. As the first speaker said, this issue has been, or this subject has been brought up a few times. So by many people, I just brought it to the table. In speaking with a bunch of people in the last 2 weeks, I just find that myself personally too, that over the last month or so, that this is a subject that's an issue that's really dividing us. So in looking around at getting the information as it comes in and taking a look around, I just thought that, hey, maybe we should take a look at this option. So many people have brought it up. I know it's getting time to make a decision, but as I've said time and time again, we have to make sure we get this right. So for a lot of the reasons that the speaker spoke about, the central location, a new build, which would not have anybody around any type of construction debris, any construction hazards, and let's just take a look at it and see if this works. If the lot's big enough over there, if we're willing to take a look and change gears, if you will. I'm sure that if the school moves out of the downtown site, we're gonna have to come up with a plan for where the high school is now, if it were to go to an alternative site. And one other thing that I want, as a council, we have to consider everything. We have to look at how this is gonna affect the students, the teachers, the staff, us as residents, what we're gonna have to pay for this, construction cost, timeline, how many years it's gonna take, and we're gonna have to weigh all this. One subject that we really haven't touched base on, and something that I've been involved for many years as a school committee person, is the adult education program that we have here in the city. I mean, this is the largest adult education program in New England. They do a great job, and for those people also, we have to consider that program. They run out of the old school across the street, but I know that they take advantage of the high school at night for night classes. So, you know, along with everything that the speakers have talked about, everything that we know about the project, in the end, when we consider everything, and along with some of the motions that we put on tonight by Council Leary, when we get the plans, the schematics, we have to make a tough decision. So I don't think it's too late in the game to consider an alternative plan, which many people have brought up over the last year or so, in order to get this project right. And I called all my councils to let them know I was putting this on, if they could take the weekend and think about it. So all I ask is for your consideration to push this forward to get a report. We're not saying you're committed to the site. We're not saying it has to be there. I'm just saying, could this be a site that we may have overlooked? We make some changes. Could we do something else somewhere in the city for commercial property? It's worth taking a look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I wanted to sort of commend Council Leahy for his thinking right about now with the, again, the divisiveness that's taking place in this city. This council is really very distraught over that. Each and every one of us had never, ever thought it would come down to this. You know, we've worked very well together. We've accomplished a lot of great things. We're going to continue to accomplish a lot of great things. And no one had ever foreseen this. So I commend Council Leahy for searching for compromise, searching for solutions in a time like this. And I think it's great. Okay, now, I've campaigned very hard in the Hamilton Canal. I've been one of the most vocal councilors for economic development at that parcel. Okay, it was mentioned earlier that, you know, with the losing of Genesis, that we got to figure out what we want. Well, we just called it the Hamilton Canal Innovation District just a few months ago. That sounds pretty cut and dry to me. Okay, has it worked out? Not really with yesterday's headline as to Genesis not locating to Lowell. However, I think all of us, and I know going into this along with Councilor, he wanted everything, every location possibly looked at. If it were up to me, there would be 4 options with 3 locations on the table, and that's including South Common. Okay, I felt that was many, many challenges. Historic, I know there's a school currently there, but I still feel to this day that was dismissed far too easily. I feel very strongly of that. So there is nothing wrong with at least taking a look at this to see what the manager comes up with. I don't think it's going to work out. I really don't. Okay? I think that one of the largest hurdles is that we just received a $5 million MassWorks grant for economic development, for infrastructure, for economic development. Job creation is what Secretary Ash wants accomplished when he awards a municipality that kind of money. And when I say job creation, that is not temporary construction jobs. That is permanent jobs on site. So I think that will be a huge issue and probably the backbreaker. However, I made a decision long and hard over this, Council Lee. Thank you for your call on Friday, letting us know it's on. Initially, I was open to discussion, and I still am, obviously. But I'm going to support the motion to at least get a report from the manager. It may be a bit of a contradiction, and I get that. But at this point, let's take a look at everything, the way this thing is, how south this thing has gone. A new high school, imagine that. We're getting a new high school, and it's become World War III. Okay, so at this point, why not? Okay, so, and just for Council Leahy's thinking right about now, I'm going to commend him and support him on this motion to at least take a look. Again, this is not a commitment by any stretch from yours truly, but I'm going to support it, at least for the manager to probe into it a little bit, see what can happen, but in the end, I don't think it's going to come into fruition, if you want my honest opinion. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to support the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to request a roll call vote on the motion, if you don't mind. I, too, appreciate Councilor Leahy's call on Friday, and I have thought about it over the weekend, and I'm not questioning the spirit of his motion. I really, truly believe that he, as we all are concerned with the divisiveness that's occurred in the city, but I don't think having the city administration look at the Hamilton Canal is the right step at this time. And I'm trying to be consistent from the standpoint of making sure the process is not compromised. Some folks may think that it already has been. But again, a few months ago when, as Councilor Belanger said, we had people at the podium asking us to reconsider the South Common site, and I requested that night that we don't do that because it wasn't a recommendation from the school building committee. Well, either is Hamilton Canal, a recommendation from the school building committee. And our speaker said earlier that it wasn't even looked at by the school building committee, and the reason it wasn't looked at was because there's a master plan associated with the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. For us to start peeling that onion back relative to putting a high school there, it would just, in my opinion, cause great angst at the state level, especially with Secretary Ash and others. And I'm still confident that Hamilton Canal Innovation District will be ultimately successful. So again, I'm requesting a roll call vote. I cannot support the motion based upon the implication it has with the school building committee, as well as the master plan that we have, as well as with MSBA. I don't know if there's a headline in tomorrow's newspaper, with all due respect, that the Lowell Sun is taking a quick turn over to the Hamilton Canal for the high school, what the MSBA would say to the administration and to you, Mayor, and to the council. So again, I have the utmost respect for Councilor Leahy. His motion, in my opinion, is just trying to seek a compromise, but at the end of the day, I do think it's too late. We're getting the information. I hope to have a vote on June 13th, and I'm really trying to maintain the integrity of the process. So again, I'm going to vote no on the motion.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not be against supporting this motion. Whether it is a viable compromise, I don't know, but I have no objection to seeking information as to the validity of making this site an option only after we get our questions answered. My questions are as follows. I understand the Hamilton Canal has 15 acres of land. The courthouse takes up about 3 acres. We're down to 12 acres. We need a parking garage for the courthouse. Will it be large enough to add Lowell High School teachers and students also, or do we build another parking garage for Lowell High School on the site as well? So these are many questions that I think at the end of the day speaks for itself. Does the city stand a chance to lose any Mass Work grant money related to utility tie-ins for economic development? And if so, how much? And if not, would this money be able to be applied for a high school building purpose project? These are the things I want to know. I think we kind of know the answer, but I'm going along because I don't want people to think I'm not willing to compromise. But I do have this question, and I think it's very important. Is there any truth to the statement that for every month that the Lowell High School project is delayed, the projected costs add $1.5 million monthly? I don't know the answer. I'm asking that because inquiring minds want to know, and this is what I hear, so I don't know that. If we could just check into that. How does this option fit into the 4 options at this point? How will the latest idea set with the MSBA? These are the questions I want to know. So I do support getting information. This is the information I want to know in regards to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leary.
No, I second the motion because One, I have great respect for my colleague, worked with him for many years on the school committee. I am still very bullish on the Hamilton Canal for a variety of reasons. One, that we've discussed today at great length about what it's going to take to actually make that happen. And I think sometimes maybe I'm not communicating effectively, or we're not communicating effectively in terms of what's going to be needed to make it happen. You don't have any infrastructure for, I think it's a third, maybe half of the project, right along Dutton Street. There is no water, there is no sewer. We got a $5 million Mass Works grant to make that happen. That's going to start next year. We do have some questions regarding master developer. I think that needs to be addressed, but I think overall that $5 million is there to begin getting that project. You have no real clean-cut way of getting there from the connector. I mean, you're competing with Cross Point, basically, and folks that are right off the highway. You need to have that infrastructure coming in. That's going to take a couple of years. We're talking 2020 before that's all in place. And I know that's a pain in the neck, and folks get very pessimistic about that occurring, but it is going to occur. You are having a building up. You will see the courthouse, which essentially will look like a massive office building being built. You'll see the skeleton structure in July. I'm an optimistic person, but I'm also a realist. This is going to take 5 years, might take 10 years before it's all complete. Councilor Mercer articulated the parking issues. I mean, clearly, the high school, you're going to need more parking. There's 1,000 folks that are supposed to be coming in and out of the current, soon-to-be existing courthouse. So I don't know if the space is going to make it. I voted to support the South Common issue, even though I didn't believe it would go there, or believe I would support that in the future. I will support my colleague's motion in terms of getting information, but I am not looking to put the high school at the Hamilton Innovation District. We are going to need that tax revenue, whether it's residential or commercial, or probably likely combination of both, in order to pay for this. We just spoke about the economic subcommittee tonight in terms of difficulty for businesses locating here because the tax structure isn't in line with competing towns. We're going to need to take a look at that, and that's going to take a good amount of time to make that a change, if we make that change at all. So this is going to take time, and I know I'm 50, so 10 years I'll be 60. I get the pessimist attitude towards it, but you're already starting to see some of the improvements. Look at Mill 5. Mill 5 is awesome. I mean, if anybody hasn't checked that out on Jackson Street, look at Jackson Street, never mind Mill 5. Jackson Street, 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't even drive all the way through it. It was blocked off. It takes an inordinate amount of time to do these things. It's not easy. And I apologize. I wish it was a lot easier. I should probably communicate that more effectively on my part. It is going to happen. I will support my colleague's motion in terms of information. There's almost no way I would support putting the high school and hurting a potential opportunity to bring in tax revenue that we're going to need to address significant projects, high school, police station, fire station, upkeep of the schools and other buildings we have in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Samaras.
Thank you. No, I want to commend Councilor Leahy for at least thinking out of the box, so to speak. I mean, this has become a very divisive issue, and unless we all seem to understand what road we should take, it's going to continue to be divisive. But hopefully, maybe tonight, it's a turning point, because many people have spoken on the issue, they understand the issue, and they understand the need to ensure that we do the right thing by our children, but also the right thing by our neighbors, and that we don't lose that friendship that we have. It's interesting about the Hamilton Canal project, but the thing is, it's the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. I really feel that this is going to be a district that is going to help pay for the many things that we need in this city. When we talk about the things, I'm talking about a high school building, I'm talking about a police station, a fire station. If we can generate the interest that we feel that we can and make it work, make this area work. I think the amount of problems, or the number of problems that we'll have if we try to change that into a high school district will far exceed the problems that we've had out at Colley Stadium, especially since the state has put so much money into that area for commercial development. But I will vote to support the obtaining of information. I think at this point, if we turn it down, it would send the wrong message that we're not willing to listen. I personally don't feel it's the right thing to do. I commend again Council Leahy for trying to come up with a solution that could work. I don't believe it worked in the Hamilton Canal, and I see that there is a real future in the Hamilton Canal. Yes, we had we'll say, a bump in the road, a rather large bump in the road with the program with Genesis. We're waiting, we'll get more information about what was the problem with Genesis, but I think we'll get the type of information that will ensure that that won't happen again, and that we'll be able to go after the type of projects that we feel will fit there. But again, I will support, even though I really strongly don't believe that this is the place to attempt to put Lowell High School. There just simply isn't the room to do it. Councilor Mercia did point it out very simply. The garage that will be built for the courthouse will be filled up by that courthouse. That means there'll be another garage that's necessary for the high school, and the numbers just don't work. But I welcome any information that the city could provide at this point. And also, I'm concerned, Mr. McGovern, Assistant City Manager, question to you. If we look at that, are we now initiating more costs with the OPM?
I'm sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of looking at this in the feasibility study, more than likely we would be required to perform the same processes that we had to go through for we're in now Module 3. And yes, we would have to pay to do that additional feasibility piece, and which we had an initial cost of $2 million, and we're getting close to that limit.
So when you review this process before anything is started, you'll make the city council aware of what the costs would be and what, if any changes were to happen, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion, Council Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did speak to Council Leahy as well over the weekend. Not to rush to judgment, to think about it, and I did. And I think it's well-intentioned, as many of my colleagues have mentioned, but I can't support this motion. We are very deep into this process, and this process is established by let's keep in mind, the Massachusetts School Building Authority. There's a protocol. We've been following it, and we have all been filing motions week after week asking for information on 4 options or 2 options. So to me, it doesn't make logical sense. I don't even know if it's possible to do this. We're looking at a change order to an existing contract just to get us into the process, first and foremost. And secondly, I voted 10 years ago to take that land when it was the Pellin Corporation, as well as other parcels of property. And the purpose of that was, as well as to assemble a district, a commercial development district, specifically to expand the tax base in the city. We went through hundreds of hours of a charrette, putting together a master plan, changing that master plan, and to throw that up in the air right now doesn't make any practical sense to me. I think if you ask any master planner who we hired to do this, if this is a practical approach when we have spent thousands of dollars and we are into the process to develop that area, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's not logical, it's not practical. The motion is well intended. We're trying to find an alternative so we can come together as a city. I don't believe that this is in any way a solution. Neither is South Common. It wasn't considered because it would be a more difficult task to pass that through the legislature where we knew it was an existing park. I just want to remind folks at home, we didn't know that there was an Article 97. Otherwise, that perhaps wouldn't have been an option. We knew there was an Article 97. It's not an option. That's why Skanska did not bring it forward, similar to this option. So I think we're looking for solutions. This is not one of them. I do appreciate Councilor Leahy's, and I think we are all in that boat trying to come up with some solution. I don't think it provides any solution to the problem. It mires the process, in my opinion. That doesn't mean I don't want to look for more information. We got lots of information that we're looking for on the options, so I'm not going to support this. I think it's taking a step back, unfortunately, rather than taking a step forward. I don't see, we can't get developers to locate a business there because there's not access and there's not utilities. We're going to lose that money if we don't proceed with our master developer. Let's keep that in mind. That's why I don't feel it's not practical. That money goes away. Where do we get it? And there's still no solution to bring those utilities over. So can I just ask a question through either you, Mr. Mayor, or to one of the questions? Is Milan Pizza part of an eminent domain taking? Maybe I missed it.
I think what they were referring to is I was on TV twice today, once this morning and once.
Congratulations.
What's that?
I said congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So, and then the second time with Chris Scott, and Chris Scott brought up or posed the question whether or not there would be any taking because of traffic signals at that intersection. And so I said, well, that's what I've heard, that would be likely. It was Chris Scott and not myself that said maybe they'll take Milan's. I never said that, but Chris Scott did say, so they might even have to take Milan's. I mean, I don't know at this point, but that's what we're hearing, is that there would have to be some kind of a taking in order to improve that intersection.
But that wasn't part of any traffic study. That's just
no
speculation. Okay. I thought I missed something. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Let me just say on this motion that I think the motion is well-intentioned. I think it's made in the spirit of compromise, and so I'll support the motion. But I don't know, I cannot think of circumstances that would arise that would allow me to vote to put the high school at the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. I think that both projects are pretty far along, what we intend for the Hamilton Canal Innovation Project and the high school project. So I think it might be an opportunity for the city manager to just provide us with a report on that option and maybe any other option that would be possible. I think that that's all the motion is asking for, is a report from the city manager, right? You're not asking that Skanska get involved and do a whole full-blown study on that location, right, Council?
I guess what I'm asking is that I think to get this project right, we should take a look at it, because the Hamilton Canal, and I agree it's been moving on, but at a snail's pace, and maybe it is because we don't have the utilities over there. But to replace the high school, neither plan that we have on the table is perfect. So this, after speaking to a few people, said this might be a location that might work out and give us a better product, a better high school, a better solution than what we've presented on. So we're going to vote on to replace the high school, to either renovate and rebuild downtown or put it out at Collie, what it looks like. And this was just another site to look at that might give us the best of both worlds on one location, and then we could move on with commercial property at another site. So that's basically what I was looking at.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call. I'm sorry, Council Samaras.
No, I need clarification. The question was asked, do you want a report, will you accept a report
Well,
from
it's
the
up
city
to the
manager?
manager how he wants to deal with it.
Okay, so we're not asking Skanska to do this, correct?
It's up to the manager how he deals with this.
Well, the thing is, I would have trouble, money's tight enough, but to do a complete study without having the city manager come before us first, I couldn't vote to support it then.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the city manager's office can put the report together for you. That's not a problem.
Councilor Elliott.
What is the manager going to put together? We have hired experts to look at options. So what do you anticipate the report coming back as?
Through you,
This,
Mr. Mayor.
this is, it's like a knee-jerk reaction where we have spent $2 million to hire people, and granted, I don't believe that they have lived up to the expectation of this council, but in order to get information on whether it's viable or not, that's going to require traffic study, it's going to require environmental assessment, it's going to require conceptual drawings, they're going to have to look at educational plans. So this motion is a little bit more than just, is it viable or not? In order to be viable, that's where we've gotten to the point where we're at. That's all. That's my concern.
Yes, Counselor. If the motion passes and a report is requested, we were thinking that we could put together the financial piece, what grants have gone into the district, the implication is, as you referenced, the MassWork grants, what impact that would have, and in terms of what Councilor Samaras said about the MSBA piece and the feasibility, what we could do is just list out kind of the steps that have taken place or took place during Module 3, the feasibility, and the issues that they would have to look at again.
Council Blanchard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the city manager can provide a lot in this motion, okay, without spending doing a $1 million feasibility study. We're looking for the hurdles or obstacles that are what are in place, such as time constraints, such as this is an urban renewal district approved by the state. That will need to be amended. That's time. We were awarded a $5 million MassWorks grant for economic development for permanent high-paying jobs, not temporary construction jobs. There's 3-4 large hurdles in place that will pretty much nullify this motion, I think, in the end. So I think we can get a timely, no-cost report from the manager in-house without spending a lot of money on any kind of feasibility studies doing on such. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Milonazo.
No.
Council Rourke. Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
No.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
6 yeas.
The next motion of the evening is by Council Leary, request that the city manager review the potential grant opportunities in order to upgrade the Christian Hill Reservoir grounds in order to make the area a passive park similar to other passive parks such as Tyler Park. Seconded by Council Leahy. Council Leary.
Just quickly, I want to thank Assistant City Manager Mike McGovern for working with me on this in terms of, we're always talking about Article 97, so I think in a bit of irony, the res has been essentially a passive park for a long, long time. I think if you could take a look at some opportunities when you were taking the tour for the Article 97, the safari tour, if you will, of the city of Lowell, one of the things that they pointed out is that we may have grant money that could actually make that more aesthetically pleasing. I think that when the first thing came into my mind is similar to what Tyler Park is, which is an Olmsted park. It's a beautiful park. Assistant City Solicitor Christine O'Connell is in that neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. It's a passive park. People walk in it, they picnic in it, play catch, what have you. It's a beautiful addition. I think the res is obviously going up there. It's a beautiful part of Christian Hill. It can probably be a little bit nicer in terms of having some structure and sidewalks maybe or lights. I think we need to work with the neighborhood in terms of that to see exactly what the folks want up there. But if there's opportunities to do that and there's financing to do it through grants, why not take and explore that feasibility? Thank you.
Thank you, Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you to Assistant City Manager Mike McGovern now. Was this site looked at all for field replication as to Colley Stadium, Mr. McGovern?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as part of the replication plan, if you remember, it was 22.35 acres that we needed to replicate. Included in that is 5 fields. Just to kind of recap again, it would be the Martin softball field, a practice softball infield, a field hockey field, a 50-yard freshman practice football field, and a 50-yard JV practice football field. In terms of replication of fields, we have 2 out at the existing Colley site. EOEEA is allowing us to use the practice softball field on the 2 softball fields over at Boston Road on the condition of improvements made to those. and then a roughly 100-yard multi-purpose field on the Boston Road site. That reservoir site is really used just as the passive park piece and just included in the acreage.
Okay, correct. So the Article 97 replication, essentially, Mr. McGovern, there's about a 9 to 10 acre net gain, if you will, in open space, according to my arithmetic. Is that accurate?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what ended up happening as we moved along in the process, the option of Colley, option 4, the latest iteration that we've seen is Perkins Eastman has been able to develop both a 4-story and a 5-story, which actually keeps the field hockey in the existing site. However, where we've been working with EOEEA and they've been willing to work with the city, we just kept that replication total at 22.35, which ultimately gains you somewhere around 8 additional acres.
8 acres, okay, so, that's that, which is a good thing. If that's what if that is the chosen site, there would be a net gain, essentially, in open space in the city. And so I'm going to support Council Leary's motion. I think this would be an improvement as additional acreage, if you will. I think it's a good plan that could be incorporated. But if not, it should be looked at anyway. So I'm going to support his motion, and I just wanted that brought out there for the public, Mr. McGovern. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Council Leary and Council Elliott, requested city manager to contact Lowell General Hospital for the purpose of negotiating a pilot agreement between the city of Lowell and Lowell General Hospital. Who would like to go first?
Well, you may regret that I'm going first. The motion speaks for itself. I think as we move forward and we look at increasing costs on the school side, on the city side, that we try to negotiate as we did a similar agreement with UMass Lowell, our nonprofit institutions. I do know that Lowell General Hospital was very generous in funding an opioid resource or providing resource to the city for study and staff. Makes some sense. I just think moving forward that we can have an actual, perhaps, agreement with the Lowell General Hospital.
Council Leary.
Just to expand off that, I agree with everything the Council Leary said, but we're also looking at, if we're looking at the debt, looking at ways of funding it, there's interesting ways of working with them to look at, probably not the schools, but we're looking at the police station, fire station, which puts a lot of service with and working with Lowell General. So I think this is something that, in order to begin that dialogue, I know it's done at the North Shore Medical Center. I think they have a pilot, they pay about $125,000 a year. But I think it's something that we need to take a look at, because we're going to have a significant tax increase. We just spoke about the commercial side of it. They're going to be taking even a bigger tax increase. We need to look at all opportunities of really entities that can and have the means to partner with us in making these investments. In some way, these investments actually impact them in a positive way if we make these adjustments. If we fail to make these infrastructure adjustments, it impacts them in a very negative way. So Councilman Elliott and I thought it would be a good time to really sit down and go to Circle Health, to Lowell General. These are areas where we are being stressed or challenged financially. We'd like to work with you to have some assistance in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not looking for a roll call vote, but I'd like to be recorded as present. I've been on the Board of Governance there for 31 years, I think, now, so I'd just like to be voted as present.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted, with Councilman Malinowski being recorded as present. The next is a motion by Council Belanger and Council Samaras, request the city manager have inspectional services inspect the property at 53 3rd Street for code violations. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Odd Couple was back on tour the last couple weekends, Mr. Mayor, and we, due to a recent incident that happened on the corner of Meade and West 3rd Street, there was a violent incident took place, so we in turn walked the neighborhood on a Saturday and heard, for starters, very good feedback from residents. It was a fairly decent day. People were outside. We talked to a number of residents that said police presence really is ramped up and that they feel much, much safer in that neighborhood in recent months and weeks, even prior to that instance, unfortunately. And businesses too. We surveyed a few businesses and they had very positive things to say. But what was identified as this property where they believe, a lot of residents believe, that this violent incident stems from this house. It is a triple-decker multifamily, very dilapidated. It is an absolute eyesore. You can tell it's a problem property just from looking at it. So I want to send a strong message to this landlord that, the city of Lowell does not tolerate absentee landlords that do not pay attention to their properties. So I would like the city manager to work with inspectional services about getting them a foot in the door and perhaps snooping around a little bit and combating this issue on a front of inspectional services. To send a strong message and hit this landlord in his pocketbook where I'm sure we'll get action. So the neighborhood, again, it's a neighborhood that has identified this as a problem property. And we've assured them, Council Samaras and I, that we're going to get them some help on this property. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Council Samaras?
Council Belanger, said it all, but what's important is the people in Lower Centerville, or this area here, have been very concerned about the trafficking of drugs. And as Council Belanger stated, this is a troubled area, and we really feel that inspectional services can serve us well at this particular point. But again, the people have been pleased that there has been a reaction by the police and by other departments to clean up the area and to ensure that their safety. So we're on the right road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Belanger and Council Samaras as well. Request that the city manager of the proper department work with the landlord of the building housing the Ray Robinson Restaurant to eliminate graffiti on the site. Council Samaras.
Thank you. In touring the streets, there are two main streets in Lowell, if you think about it, Merrimack Street and Central Street. That's the heart of the city. And walking by the old Ray Robinson Restaurant, there's a lot of graffiti on the windows and the doors. And if you want to send the wrong message to people coming into the city, that's it. So we'd like to see that graffiti eliminated. And also, if possible, perhaps somebody from Public Works or somebody from the Department of Planning and Development could be spared to, we'll say, once a month at least, travel around the city, and especially these streets, to ensure that there's no graffiti, and if there is graffiti, deal with it. That's the one thing we can't have in the downtown. It's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Belanger. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? If not, Council Mercia.
Thank you. And while we're discussing things with the landlord, does he ask if he has any future plans for that building? It's still empty, that storefront, and maybe he might have some plans. I don't know.
There's a business going in there.
Mr. Mayor, to inform Council members, there is a sign, a handmade sign, a nail salon coming soon. But still will not hurt. Maybe we can help that landlord in marketing his property as well. I still think it's a worthy amendment.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Councilor Samaras and Council Belanger. Request that the city manager have the proper department repair the sidewalk at 478 Middlesex Street in front of the Sizzling Kitchen. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For starters, I want to give a plug to a small business that, this is one heck of a small restaurant, the Sizzling Kitchen on Merrimack Street. It's on the upper Merrimack Street corridor, which this council is trying to pay a lot of attention to with the Working Cities Grant. So this restaurant, is North End good, really. So I suggest everybody at home check it out. It's owned by one of Councilor Samaras' former students as well. So we're very proud of him, and he's doing great, and that's great to hear. But coming out of there was a considerable divot. That sidewalk and the trash, really. We've got to pay more attention to this corridor. It is very dim. Trash is everywhere. We need more outreach to businesses in general. That it's sort of their responsibility to keep up their storefronts. And that goes from almost City Hall all the way up to, University Crossing, but with that being said, there's a hazard, what was identified by Councilor Samaras and I, a serious divot in the sidewalk, a few inches deep, which is a serious trip hazard, that we like remediated in the meantime. But again, I do want this corridor looked at a little more closely, as we need to pay more attention to it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras.
No, thank you. Councilor Belanger is correct. Actually, this area is within the Federal Reserve grant that we've received. And when the sidewalk, it's not terrible, it's dangerous. I mean, there are just large rips in the cement that I'm surprised somebody hasn't gotten really hurt in that area. So I think that has to be attended to quickly. But, when Councilor Belanger was talking about the quality of the restaurant, the young man is also planning, and his brother, to open up another restaurant in the city, that this restaurant's been so successful. So the one thing is perhaps we're going to help by doing what we're supposed to do, make sure the sidewalk's safe and appropriate. But it's quite interesting. These are the startup businesses that can help make Lowell go in the direction it wants to. It's an outstanding little restaurant, but it speaks well, it bodes well for our future, because he is a former student, a great kid. That's what I'd like to just say about him, and by our helping him out, it's going to help the city. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We did a ribbon cutting on that restaurant just probably about a year ago, I think. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. The next motion is by Council Samaras, Council Belanger, requested the city manager of the proper department repaint the crosswalks on Bridge Street from 3rd Street to the Robinson School. Council Samaras.
We know that Bridge Street is going to be ready to be taken care of, much like Couple Square. But that's going to take a while. The thing is, the crosswalks in the area from 4th Street up by St. Michael's Church and actually out towards the Robinson School really are in bad need of being repainted. If it's an evening and there's any type of rain at all, you can't see it. And there are many children in that area. So I just want to ensure that we're not waiting for the street to be done and then we're going to do the crosswalk. But if something can be done, if a basic painting could be accomplished to ensure that the children in that area are safe. That's what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Belanger. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Belanger. Request the city manager provide a report regarding asbestos and remediation, including costs on the 1922 building as part of the Lowell High School project. Second by Council Elliott. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I probably should have bundled this with Councilor Mercier's motion earlier in the evening, which was very, very similar. But when I was informed last week that to remediate the asbestos at the 1922 building was in the vicinity of $1.1 million, I was shocked. And I still am. I just don't trust it. This is something we need to know if we're going to begin gutting that building. If it's millions more, which many reputable builders tell me, we need to know that. So I don't know how we go about that, but I know that only 1.1 million is very alarming to me. It raises a flag. Maybe Councilor Mercier's motion will reveal that the improvements made in 1997 did, as was stated last meeting, did remediate a lot of that asbestos. Perhaps that's true. I mean, we all thought that was throwing money out the window, that $40 million. It appeared to have done nothing. Well, maybe that's aesthetically, it appears to have done nothing, but if they, as stated last week, did a lot of wiring and asbestos remediation, well, then that's another story. But all I know is I need to know that before making a decision, because it's a very costly mistake that I'd rather not be involved in. So, and I think my colleagues would agree. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? We have a registered speaker.
Armin Hebert.
Armin Hebert, 499 Wilder. This motion is a good motion, too. I do believe what the hygienist or whatever, the inspector for the asbestos is right with his with his estimate of $1.2 million, because what he was talking about was the friable, soft asbestos that's still left in the building. I believe that that's true, because he said they got 98%. And over the years, they have taken it out over the years. But what he didn't bring up, and which comes into with Councilor Leary's motion earlier tonight, is the schematics. Now, you got to understand, back in those days, asbestos was put into every building material. It was a great wonder material, they called, that was good for strength. It added strength to all construction products. It added for fire resistance and stuff like that. Well, where the schematics come in is the non-friable, which means walls, masonry blocks, mortar, floor tiles, stuff like that. He didn't mention that. He mentioned, well, there could be more costs, if everybody remembers. I was listening. He said there could be more costs if walls come down. Well, from what I understood in the early meetings by Skanska, that major renovations, stairwells, walls would have to come down. Roofs would have to be opened up. That's where the non-friable comes in. And the non-friable is more dangerous because now it's got to be demolished. It's got to be taken out with chipping hammers, with combustible tools, with air tools, stuff like that. That is going to put it into the air, okay? And one thing he didn't mention, and two, is right now the federal government is going to be coming down with a silica regulation that is going to make asbestos look like nothing. The silica is in everything. It's in the dust in the floor. Silica is sand. And that, right, and as of September from right now, was supposed to be brought in January, but they thought the regulations on silica would be too strict, because right now silica is out there, and it's one of the worst things, because there's no treating silica. Silica gets in your lungs, and it makes like a concrete paste. The construction business, one of the things they say is, asbestos takes 30 years to kill you, so the silica will probably kill you before the asbestos gets to you. All right, that's one thing you really should look at. Right now, I'm out at Barica High School, and another thing, we're building a new building right behind the old high school. We have to have water trucks out there all the time. Anytime we're working, those water trucks got to be running to keep the dust down. We got a street sweeper sweeping those streets. We got where today they had an activity for the high school. We had to lock off a portion of the job so the kids would not be exposed to the construction. This is Barica, the town of Barica. We're building a $170 million school, and this is the concerns they have about their children, that they do not want them exposed to any type of hazard in a construction area. And people, I work it. It's dangerous, and it's very hazardous, and not to have people trained. If we're going to build it, if we're going to redo that building, hey, whatever. If that's what it has to be done, that's what be done. But I think, right, at that time, when those kids are in, before the school starts and those kids are in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, we should start training them on construction awareness. Because those are the kids that are going to be in the school when there's work being done. Now, they're saying no modular classroom, so those kids got to go someplace. If they're going to be in the school with construction workers, it's going to be a dangerous thing. But if that's the option that this council chooses, I support it wholly. Do I think it's right? No, but that's my opinion. We've got to work together to get this school done, because if we don't, we're going to lose it, and this city's going to suffer for the next 20 years without a school that's viable for these children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The last motion of the evening is by myself. Request the city manager instruct the traffic engineer to analyze the feasibility of making Perry Street one-way. Seconded by Councilor Milonazo. I think the motion speaks for itself. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Are there any announcements? Hearing no announcements, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All in favor, all opposed, stand adjourned.
Good job, Eddie.